Okay. There are definitely some obstacles that arise or are more prevalent with longer distance communication than with shorter distance communication. Um, we touched on this very briefly, but um, there's loss, which is essentially photons getting lost in transit, and the rate of loss is exponential in terms of length of the fiber. So the longer our quantum channels, the more loss we're going to have. Well, we need our photonic qubits to reach their destinations in order to distribute entanglement and to actually run any of our desired applications. So when we lose photons, that's obviously not ideal. And with loss, we need to be able to detect if there was loss and to be able to retransmit our information in order to account for that loss. So loss is definitely a much bigger issue for long distance communication than short distance communication. We talked a little bit about noise. We need to mitigate and account for noise. And again, this becomes a more difficult task as the size of the network increases, just because there will be more noise that compounds. So we talked about purification as a way to account for noise. Well, it's important to note that there's going to be a trade-off between throughput, the rate of message delivery, and between fidelity. Because if we want to do more purification, we need to use more entangled pairs to actually run our purification protocol. Well, if we're using our entangled pairs for purification, then we can't actually distribute those pairs. And so we need to figure out how much purification we need to do in order to keep fidelity high enough in order to run our desired end user applications, but not to do too much purification that we're not actually distributing enough entanglement to run our end user applications. There are other obstacles that arise or become more prevalent as the size of our network increases. But it's important to note these obstacles aren't insurmountable. So even today, there's some larger quantum network projects that are underway, and they'll be able to run important applications even in the face of these obstacles. Also, as our hardware continues to develop, it's going to become easier and easier to overcome these obstacles. So we mentioned a little bit about going from first generation quantum repeaters to second and third generation quantum repeaters, which accomplish the same goals but with higher levels of performance. Well, having the hardware necessary to have those later generations of repeaters will help us overcome some of the obstacles we mentioned and some of the obstacles we didn't mention. Noise is just refers to different factors that can cause us to lose some of our quantum information or for the quality of that information to decay. And that can be all sorts of things. So I mentioned it could be environmental factors. So that could be temperature, for example. So if you've ever seen those like giant golden chandelier quantum computers and they're inside, they're basically mostly a giant refrigerator, but they're also inside a big cylindrical device. The reason they are built like that is because they need to remain really, really cold to keep the quality of qubits high enough for their computing needs. Similar things can occur with networks. Our networks aren't as sensitive to temperature as those types of quantum computers are, but there definitely are environmental factors. Noise can be caused by imperfect components and other things as well. So there are all sorts of things that can be referred to as noise. Noise is just factors that cause our quantum information to decay.